What's the Square doing?
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Go ahead and give us a mic check and let us know if you can see the screen. Also, give us your opinion on the charts that you are looking at. I personally think Wall Street Jesus charts are fucking horrendous and horrible. What stock is that right there that you're looking at? That's Square?
Square, yeah, Square.
That just reported too?
Yeah, they reported too. Yeah. Why did Priceline change their name? What's with these name changes? Like, why would Priceline change their name?
I don't know. I don't have the answer on that one. Anybody else?
You know what the worst name change was?
What?
The Coach.
Oh yeah, yes.
Did you see what they changed their name to?
Negative. What was it?
They should kill themselves. They changed it to oh man, I just drew a blank. Somebody out there knows something ridiculous.
Oh, Coherent? No.
No.
I don't know why it's not coming up for me. Tapestry. They changed it.
Tapestry. That's it.
Wait. That's the name of the company right now?
Yeah, they changed it from Coach to
Tapestry. Out of here. I didn't know that shit.
But seriously, like that's a brand. No, Coach is a legit brand. That's a big brand. Why would you do that?
Because they bought all the other brands, bro. They bought Kate Spade. They bought all that. That's why. All right. I'm gonna get a little video here going on here too. Let me know, guys, if this is coming in.
Are you on a headset?
Nah, I'm not on a headset. I am on just a mic. You guys getting an echo?
A little bit of an echo, I was going to say. A little bit.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll just mute out. And let me try this. All right, how's that? Is that any better?
Yeah.
Just gonna turn myself down, and then when you're talking too, I'll just throw on the mute for myself.
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead and get started, folks. What's going on, everybody? This is your Tuesday webinars here with Wall Street Jesus and Sang Lucci. We are joined today by a special guest, somebody that's been trading with me for a while. We will go ahead and introduce him a little bit later on. First, we're going to just talk a couple of stocks and just what's going on. I think today is worth it to have a good conversation here about the S&P and where we were looking at this morning versus where we closed up. And then we want to go ahead and bring in this trader here. We'll go ahead and ask him a bunch of questions here about futures, and he'll go ahead and give us some background on what he does. First, let's take a look. Why don't we take a look at these earnings here? So we got, what do we got? We got Square here, and then we got Priceline. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the Priceline symbol again? The new symbol BK.
NG changed to booking, and I was reading articles this morning. They're all saying, it's really a booking stock, and now the stock it's looking like it's back up. This shit hit 1835, and is now positive. Hasn't gotten to 2000 and change yet. I would say by this reaction, we're getting pretty fucking close here, man. And this is also bullish here, I would say, for the rest of the tech names. Take a look at Expedia off this, or some of the other travel names here, or the TripAdvisor, or whatever.
Oh yeah, Expedia.
After hours as well. And then you got the Trip. I mean, this thing's not really doing much. So the Priceline here, and then we have the Square as well. Some pretty interesting earnings, after hours. Let's talk about the S&P though. I mean, we had a huge buy program, I think in the morning, where we almost got to 280 on SPY and caught a lot of people long. And that's usually what happens towards the ends of these big bull runs. And then you just kind of get this shave here. And then what happened, I think it all happened the last half hour, right? Or the last hour here where we just kind of sold off.
Yeah, we were drifting and drifting and drifting, and then it got really, yeah, they were selling into the bell, which we haven't been seeing over the last couple of days. But there was this drift, throughout the day, almost like quiet, but at the same time some selling under the hood, and it had the looks of mostly profit taking for the most part. But anytime, yeah, everybody's all junked up in bull mode. So anytime you get some selling into the bell, people make, they feel worse about it than it actually is.
Indeed, indeed. Okay, so some interesting activity. Has the flow switched to more, bearish activity? Did we notice that on the flow side from, toward as we got into the end of the day, Jesus?
No. What we've been noticing, what we've been seeing over the last couple of days, even as this market, and especially these tech names have pushed higher, it's been very selective. We've been seeing the same names catch the action. You had the Micron, right? Micron continuously just catching action throughout. This thing has been a total animal. All right. You could see here this, the last couple of weeks since the lows. Intel, even the big guys, you had the Netflix and all these big, and the semiconductor names and all that. So what's been happening, and we see that a lot in the flow. Like I mentioned a lot of times that a lot of times I see more out of the buying or lack of buying than I'll see out of the put action. Because in bull market, you're going to see put buying all the time. It's not providing any edge. It doesn't show you anything. It doesn't tell you much about the climate where you're in. It's just the smart money likes to protect their long positions as things push higher. Okay, but a lot of times when a market maybe comes too far too quick, okay, and that's pretty much what we've had here. And again, simple things. You look at some of the sentiment stuff out there. I hate to get technical, but the oscillators, all that stuff. We were over.
He doesn't even say it right. He didn't even say it. You heard how he said it. He said oscillators. He said oscillators. That's just, it's not how you say it. See, that's how we know you're not a technical fucking dude.
How do you say it?
I think it's oscillate. It's silent. You know what I mean? It's oscillation, oscillator. That's how you say it.
Is it really? All right. Regardless, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Okay, so you didn't need any specific signal to tell you that we've stretched a little bit too far coming from the lows here. Okay, so the inevitable is at some point the risk of a reversal, the risk of some profit taking is going to pop up in the market. And a lot of times the point I'm getting at here is when the action becomes too selective, when they're buying the same names over and over and rolling in those same names, it's a sign that we're reaching that point. Okay, so a lot of people out there who know, especially members, we've been talking how we want to see that rotation now. That's kind of what disappointed a lot of us today in the room off flow. We really wanted to see money come out, right? Let them take profit in some of the hot names out there that have run like banshees over the last week or so and start going into the stuff that really didn't participate in this rally. We didn't really see that. We saw a little drips and drabs of it, but not as much as we wanted to see. That still can come. Again, it's just one day. But that's kind of where we're at right now, flow-wise. We had, again, aggressive bullish activity into the lows. That followed through and carried into this move here. But as you get longer in the tooth, the buying seems to dry up and they got to look elsewhere. So that's what we're waiting on now.
Pull up Bank of America. Pull up Bank of America just for the day. Now, obviously, this thing sold off towards the end of the day. I wasn't trading, for the last hour. Just pull up an intraday chart of this one, if you can manage. You know what I'm saying? With you.
Yeah. You got some nice colors. Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm looking. Okay, so you see how this thing was basically trading up, and in reality, this thing I think this thing closed positive here. Despite the fact of how much we were down. Pull up the Goldman too. The Goldman hit like 237 or something like that. So these things all kind of traded fairly well, relatively well, regardless of what the market was doing. And it looks like here the Goldman just kind of gave it back towards the end of the day during that big sell-off. So again, there's a lot of people asking us too, are we going to get some of that rotation in the banks? And ironically too, like I was long some weeklies from last night, for Bank of America. I did pretty good on those. And there was a lot of people that were buying them today. And the problem is that a lot of people don't adjust, when the SPY situation or the SPY tape starts looking a little bit different. And one big key takeaway, I think, for this particular webinar is that, as soon as you start to see the SPY come off like that, you're going to get a better price on your options fucking anyway, So if you're long a Bank of America or you're long a Goldman or you're long whatever it is, and you see this kind of selling, just kind of come out of nowhere and all these sell programs or whatever it is, you're going to get a better cost. You're going to be able to get a better cost. And I got so many people hitting me up like, yo, do you think Bank of America is still going to go up tomorrow? Like, motherfucker. In a week, number one, you're in a weekly when the stock is going down now and the indexes look like shit. Even if you get the upside move, unless it's strong enough, you're not going to get it to go back to highs where you can double and triple your option and all that kind of stuff. Now you're stuck in an option that you can't get out of, or you're stuck and your emotions here don't want to get you out of it, and that option is going to end up going to fucking zero. And we see that happen all the time. And as soon as I get hit up like that, I mean, you can feel the emotions. You can feel the emotions come out of everybody, when things turn like this. Everybody's like, whoa, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And it's almost like what's right is the market just going up all the time. And nobody is prepared mentally, for some things to kind of unravel. And that's a big issue. That's a big issue, especially for a lot of options traders and just traders in general. You got to be able to flip. You got to be able to take your profit. You got to be able to move quickly and disattach yourself from, or detach yourself from those, from that bias, from that sentiment. And that's a difficult thing to do. And actually, this is a great segue into bringing in our boy Screak here. This is probably a guy that has done it very, very well. The sort of detachment from, the bias and the sentiment. He also does a lot of scalping ES as well. He also holds a lot of longer term positions too. And one thing I know about good ES traders, and I think Jesus, you can comment on this as well, is that they just have a great feel, man. Their feel for the markets, they've just been rooted in so much like up and down activity that their feel for sentiment and momentum, it's on another fucking level, man. It's on another level. They don't look at shit like the rest of us do. And they look at it from a completely different perspective. So I want to get that here from Screak there too. Screak, go ahead and say what's up, man. How you doing here?
Hello, everyone. Screak, I would like to thank Lucci and the family for inviting me to the webinar today. What he's saying about feel and flow, for me, it's something like that I've been doing for so many years now that after a while, it kind of becomes like, all right, it's time for me to bet the other way. It's like what he's talking about. It's like this feeling inside of you when you've been watching charts for so many years, thousands of charts, thousands of hours of just screen time, and just watching the markets go from A to B and B to A and A to B and D. Then what happens is you kind of just build this mental model in your mind. This is why I'm a big supporter of actually getting your hands dirty in the markets and getting the experience you need and the screen time you need. There's only so much education you can get, and then the rest of it is just actually going into in war and dealing with it in real time. And the way that I trade is, again, it's very aggressive. You guys see me buying a lot of times when the market is crazy selling. People are like throwing up almost at times, and I'm slowly buying 1, 2, 3 contracts, 4 or 5. I'm scaling in because I know that there's maybe a bottom in this level. I could feel it. It's like this, I don't know, it's this intuition thing that just hits my mind. Obviously I'm looking at all these technical indicators that I have and so forth. But once I get that feeling, that's when I start to say, all right, there's a chance we're going to bounce here, or there's a chance we're going to go up and then we're going to come down, or so as you were saying, the thing about the index is within the last 9 years, it's really just mostly just sideways, actually. I mean, come on. It just goes up slowly, and then it goes sideways, and then it goes right back up. That's been my trading methodology for the last 5 years. It's really not rocket science,
Right.
But I think I think we're going into a period now where it was an investor's market within the last 9 years. The people who are this is why the wealthy has gotten so rich, because they've been sitting on a lot of these equities and they've been riding this thing back up. This is why you hear about Warren Buffett.
They've been sitting in Amazon from fucking $500, man.
Exactly. So we're transitioning now, because you got to pay attention to what's going on in the macro, right? We're transitioning into a trader's environment, probably for the next 5 years. This is why I was telling people the other day, yesterday, Traders Expo, this is probably the best time to become a trader, because I think the next 5 years, the volatility might actually come back. And you're going to hear these crazy stories about Sang Lucci making $2 million in Citibank again, somewhere along the line.
That volatility, baby, that volatility. Actually, sidebar here real quick. Does anybody still go to the Traders Expo? What do you guys think of the Traders Expo still? I feel like it's gotten kind of like dead over the years. Maybe it's picking back up. Maybe attendance is picking back up. Well, what's your experience here at the Traders Expo? Jesus, have you been to a Traders Expo? Have you been to one?
I think I went to one like literally maybe 18 years ago. Was it around then? I might have gone to one in San Francisco, I remember, but I think just that one time.
Indeed. All right. So Screak, by the way, like when I had my spot in Manhattan, I would throw these crazy house parties and shit, and Screak would come through. He's from Queens. And he would come through and check out some of the parties here too. So we kind of go back, a decent amount of time. Can you give us like a history of how you, I guess, evolved into the trader you are now, and then why you focus so much on, the futures versus, let's say, the options, the equities, or whatever? What is it about futures that attracts you the most?
All right. So history was, I started in stocks many, many years ago. By a guy named Michael Parnes, Trend Fund. I don't know if he's still around.
Oh, I know that dude. Wow.
Right? And I was one of those newbie people that just like gobbled up what he was saying about how he made all this money in 2003. I was like, I could do that. I think that's what everybody thinks,
That's funny.
And then when I got my hands dirty in the game, I realized like, I'm not going to make any money with this. I got to find something else to do. So I just scouted around the net. I ended up in tons of chat rooms. I've done it all, man. I've met so many traders over the years and all kind of methodologies and systems and so forth. And I think I came across like the day traders chat room on MIRC back in the day, and I ran into a futures trader who was really good, and I was like, how does this guy do this? How does this guy do this? And I didn't know futures were this difficult to trade. It's a very hard instrument to trade. And what happened was I stuck around I was losing money for probably 6 or 7 years. To be honest with you, that's the curve. That's the cost it takes to learn this business. You don't become an Indian chief without being an Indian.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have different trajectories. Some people will say 6 months or a year, and even when you start making money, that doesn't mean all of a sudden you're going to be consistent. I fell through that pitfall. I started making money maybe like a year and a half into the game, and I had maybe a good year, but then shit still unraveled. Like you still have to work at it. You still have to evolve. You still have to figure out your strategy. Plus, if the market changes on you completely, you
gotta readjust. And that is something that took me a while to figure that out. Because a lot of newbie traders, I see this, they one hit wonder. They start that week, and that week was the good week, and they like, yo, how long you been doing this? How long you been? And I made this much money, that happens all the time. And then see them in 6 months, they're not even trading no more. Who knows what they're doing? But it's the reality of the game. It's a very serious game, as a matter of fact. So I take this game very seriously. We joke around all day in the chat room. We talk trash. I make jokes about Lucci all the time. But the reality, this is a very serious game. So if you're going to get into it, you got to be very serious about it. You can't do it 50%. You got to go all in,
Indeed. So how did you like mark your territory in?
So for me to get good, to start to get good it's like I was so frustrated with losing money because I was just looking at everyone as some kind of oracle to give me knowledge, right? And then it came to a point where I just got into this FU mindset that says, you know what? If I'm doing all these things and I'm losing money, then maybe I should just do everything opposite to what I think I should be doing, right? And I remember one day I just sat there. I had just blown out an account because I got killed in 2009 meltdown. I was long S&P when Lehman crashed that Monday morning. I remember it like yesterday because I got killed that morning. And I remember I said, I got to come up with my own system, and I just started studying a lot of different things, and what I realized is the more you start thinking out the box is when you actually start to do better, because what happens is you kind of discover yourself as a trader in that process. Yeah. So when I stopped doing everything what I saw people were doing, I just said, what if I just did this or I did that? I started noticing I was getting a little bit better, results. But in many ways, I was lucky to have a great mentor. My mentor was this guy. I won't mention his name, but he was the biggest S&P trader in the S&P 500 pit. Okay, and he was pushing 6,000 contracts in 2-3 minutes. Okay,
Can you imagine? Can you imagine, Jesus? Yo, do you know how much money that is? 6,000 fucking contracts of the big boy. How much money is that, Screak? How much money is that exactly?
I don't know. He was making I don't know. He was making the kind of money you probably make on Citibank. I don't know, But all I do know was I came across him by accident, and I said, "Yo, I need you to be my mentor." And he didn't want to help me because he was working for an institution at the time. But he liked me so much. He's like, I'm going to give you a shot. I train other traders, but I'm going to give you a shot because you're relentless. You don't give up. You keep trying, and that's what he did. He kind of trained me into thinking the way he thinks. So a lot of my system is really stuff I learned from someone else that kind of fed, like how Lucci is training so many other people, to become better option traders and so forth, So that's how I kind of got my confidence up. And then things didn't work out with him fully. I wasn't fully trained, so I had to finish the whole process on my own. So within the last 5 years, I spent just every day, 10 hours a day, just hitting charts, hitting all types of indicators. I've looked at everything, man, and over time I started to realize, that I kind of developed something. I don't even know what I have, honestly, because some days, like I say, some days I come in and my confidence is not there 100% every day because the market changes, and you got to just keep going at it. And, that's why I always say, I'm going to be a student for life as a trader. I'll probably never be I'll never get to a destination in trading. I'll probably never feel like Lucci.
There's some lessons here, though. There's some lessons, and there's a lot of mental lessons here that we're hearing. I mean, number one, the perseverance. Actually, number one is be relentless. Is literally just be relentless. Ask people. Find the people that might have the knowledge. That can change your situation, and do what you need to do. There's a lot of people that are not willing to do those things, and especially for the newbie traders who are trying to figure out a strategy that fits for them, you've got to be relentless. You have to be relentless out here. That's number one. And then two, that whole confidence thing that you were talking about, like, dude, I lose my confidence all the time. Jesus knows. Jesus actually is the only one that doesn't, because he does not do anything else but his core strategy. Okay. However, Jesus, do you lose your confidence? Do you find times where you just feel like you don't have it?
Yeah, it's I mean now, Luch, because I guess it's easy for me to say because like you're saying, I've been in this game a long time. You know what I mean? So there have been plenty of times where I thought even my strategy I needed to throw out the window, but over time you realize that you're gonna run through patches where things just don't go your way. You know what I mean? And you got to try to limit the downside of those occurrences. And then just like any other game out there, man, there's streaks. You get hot and you got to not let, like Screech was mentioning before, allow that to get to your head at the same time, because you're not going to remain that hot. So for me, it's more of, I'm used to the game of streaks. You know what I mean? It's like you ask, let's say a vet, not LeBron James or anybody in hoops. Okay. And you ask them, listen, I've been playing in the NBA for 25 years now. I know we can blow a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter in the snap of a finger. So we're going to D up all the way to the bell. You know what I mean? So it's almost like from experience, you realize that it's more of just things that are a part of the game that you can't allow to get to your confidence. But it can easily happen, as we all know. It's happened many times throughout my career.
Indeed, indeed. So to continue here with Screak, we got a bunch of questions here specifically for you, Screak. So we're going to leave those towards the end of the the webinar. Can you give us like a just a sample trade basically of your system? Just give something to the guys who are looking to trade.
I'll give you an example. Everybody knows in the room I'm long. Okay, I've been long a couple of days now. Okay, my S&P options that I have they're up like 300%. Okay, right. Why? Because why am I long? Okay, so the way that I do things now is I start to slow things down a lot, right? So I start to get into the fundamentals of how everything works, right? That's my broad picture view of everything. So I look at the economy and then I get into, well, where are treasuries, right? So I'm betting a lot on treasuries. You got to keep an eye on the bond market, people, right? And what it is the reason I'm long is I feel that all this fear that just came into the market are a bunch of mutual fund guys just dumping because their buddies are saying, let's get out. You see what I'm saying? But if you're a smart investor, nothing really has fundamentally changed in the economy. Nothing, right? I remain bullish in 2018 to December. I don't care what anybody says. Why? Until I hear things changing in the government, that's maybe then I'll change my view. But because I have that backdrop of bullishness in the background, when I start seeing these panic moves coming in the market, and people start saying, I look at all the chat rooms, and they're saying, "Oh, get out, buy puts at the bottom." I'm going long. I'm using those people as my sentiment. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, and the reason I do that is because it works from time to time. You have to think out the box. I keep saying this because you have to be opposite to what everybody's doing. So I went long S&P, and I'm probably gonna try to get out at 280 if we get there. I'm not sure if we're gonna get there because today was a bit weak, but I'm keeping my confidence high, and we'll see what happens. I got some time.
Right. So you're getting a lot of your confidence from sort of your macro viewpoint. How do you drill that down from macro now to actual?
Once you get the macro view of everything, right? You have to have a general thesis of what's going on in the world, right? Once you get that, then what I do is I go in the monthly, right? Why? Why the monthly? I go in the weekly. People don't even look at the weeklies. Why? Because you see, manipulation is like 80% of the market. You got to understand that, right? So when you go into the smaller time frames, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, it's all manipulated. I don't care what anybody says. You as a trader, or especially a retail trader, you have no control what the hell the market does right now. All you're doing is holding on to something that's going up, or you're holding on to something that's going down. You're not moving the market. The professionals are moving the market. Once you get that idea in your head, it's a lot easier. So when you go into the weekly or the monthly, you're actually seeing what they're doing because they can't manipulate those charts. They're too hard to manipulate. There's too much information in those charts. So I use the weeklies and I use the dailies as my guide, with simple stuff like couple and handle, pennants, higher highs, higher lows. They can't break higher highs and higher lows. I don't care what algorithm they develop. That's never going to go away. You understand?
So Screak, you're talking about time frames as far as looking at charts and shit now, right? You're talking about taking a bigger picture view and not getting tied up in the moment, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then after that, then I start using the sentiment of people. I think you got a sentiment indicator in the chat room.
Yeah. I do a lot of that too. Yep.
When I start seeing people start going, ugh, or they start getting scared, that's when I said, all right, it's time to attack, baby. It's time to eat.
One thing, Lucci, since I'm in a room that I learn Screak and what he does well, he comes in, like you said, with a thesis. Okay. So in reality, a lot of traders in the room who've been trading a while do that. Okay. Like Screak mentioned, I look a lot into the sentiment as well, right? And then I'm looking at the flow to confirm that sentiment. So if I come in, like I'll give you an example, okay? And this is where I see Screak pretty much does something similar, and he does so well. Like, for example, we'll take a look at the SPY, okay? And we'll go to a daily chart, and Screak is saying, rather than paying attention to the intraday volatility, or even, the minute-to-minute, the day-to-day volatility, you take a step back and look at the bigger picture of things, all right? Even pulling up a weekly chart, a monthly chart, seeing how far we've come. If nothing's changed fundamentally, he's saying, okay, and he sees panic, and it's just strictly panic based off sentiment, he utilizes that as a buying opportunity. All right, we had this panic attack. I mean, this is the definition of a panic attack. Okay, nothing fundamentally has changed, but people
hyperventilating the first.
Right. People were literally throwing shit out the window over the fear that something may change down the line. Okay. And you had this exaggerated sell off to the downside. Now, the same way like Screech is looking at sentiment, you know, you see that sentiment, like Screech is saying, it's pretty obvious, especially at these extremes. Retail, they wear it on their face. Okay. And it's because emotionally, you got to understand, like Chris mentioned, players are holding on to stocks whether they go up or down. Okay. When they're making money to the upside, they're flamboyant, right? They feel that no one's better than them. They are a guru. The market's going higher. They're right. But as soon as that trade turns into a losing trade and they're losing money, all of a sudden the confidence goes out the window. Their thesis goes out the window. And these markets, in actuality, that's what they move on, sentiment. Okay. And when you get these extreme measures down here, where, you know, we look at put the call, we look at a variety of things, Screech, like, you know, but a simple put the call, or just even measuring people in the chat room, you could probably get a good indication. Okay. You know, they're nervous, you know, they're selling. And one thing I realized from Screech, from the short time I know him, which is a couple of years now, he's always stepping into that buying. You never hear,
you think about
him say, I'm shorting this into the hole.
Right.
Always. Everybody in the room is like, what the fuck? How could you buy this? Or how could you short this up here? Because again, emotions, I think, and just to comment on what Jesus, you were saying, is like, right now, I think the best indication of any market is fucking emotions. And if you're able to, because that's where the strongest moves are going to come. And by the way, the stronger moves and the more momentum means higher the percentage gains you're going to get on your options anyway. So most of the folks who are able to not trade and just come in when the volatility is there, you know, those are the ones that are going to come up, always with the better P&L, because most of the time we're just fishing around waiting for the emotions to really pipe up. And Screek, sorry to cut you off. I know you want to say something.
Oh, yeah. So I was saying, it's a lot like, you just have to, the thing about me is I'm very, very detailed on what I'm going to do. Like a lot of people, they'll be talking about, well, maybe the market will go up or maybe the market will go down. I'm actually telling you exactly what I think. That doesn't mean I'm right. That just means what I think. You see the difference?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing, Luch, again, it's easier said than done. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure some of the newer traders out there, it sounds easy.
Right. There's a reason why there's only 5% of traders who are able to do this. There's a reason why when shit looks bad, you don't want to fucking buy. There's a reason why when shit looks amazing, you don't want to fucking short. But in reality, at those times, that's when sentiment starts turning and that's when things start changing. And you need to be able to detach yourself from that bias. I think that's the first part for a lot of you guys. And it's what I talk about every day in the freaking chat room. Because remember, me and Jesus, we shepherd a bunch of newbies on a daily basis, and we can tell immediately when you held on a position too long, or when you held on, when you didn't hold it enough, or whatever the case is. We can tell just by the words you fucking use. And that's where you're emotional. And remember, when all of these people come together and you can just see their emotions on the tape, that's when the strongest trades are there. That's when the best traders come out. Guys like Screak here will come in and just fucking clean up here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's and it's Luch. We spoke about this on many webinars. We've been talking about it on the Saturday webinar for so long. Even the simple thing of buying weakness, early on in my career, Screech, like you mentioned, you started to do the opposite of what you were feeling, right? You mentioned that earlier. Like early on in my career, it almost got frustrating. I felt like a degenerate in a sense. Every time I chased green and chased highs, and then they slapped me in the face and reversed it on my ass, like I wanted to choke somebody down. That's how furious I would get. So
Yo, man, I play a lot of sports. That's how I deal with the stress of it.
yeah, so
I just go on the court and go crazy. You know, I know Lucci's a tennis player over there. You know?
Have your outlet. Yeah, have your outlets, guys. Have your outlets. Make sure you have your outlets. Things are not going to always go well for you in the markets. Screak here has even told you it took him fucking 6 years to make money, for Christ's sakes. And, you know, a lot of you people are yelling at me because you ain't making money in 3 months. Like, motherfucker, that's not how the shit works. All right? I'm not Jesus. We don't hold hands here. Jesus here, we don't hold fucking hands here. That's not what we're here to do. We are here to feed you information so that you can create a strategy that works for you. Sometimes it takes a long fucking time, and you have to be relentless.
And sometimes it goes quick. You understand? Some people get it right away. You know, I learned that lawyers and military people, for some odd reason, are damn good traders. I don't know why. But people like me, who are analytical programmers, come from a technology background, we suck.
Yo, you forget emotional. You forgot emotional. Emotional motherfucker, you are.
What about degenerates in general? Us degenerates, you know, you don't fit the mold. Like we're degenerate gamblers. We're looking for constantly. Yeah, you don't fit the mold. But just listen, a couple simple things, guys, like the takeaway from Screech or anybody else we bring on here. There's a common denominator. There's a couple things just for me to ramble off this, okay, and make your life easier. One, when you're putting on a trade, okay, you have some sort of game plan already in your head, okay? You know where that trade gets in trouble, where something changes, right? Where you have to admit you're wrong. You know what you're looking for, the upside, or having idea of what upside you're going to start taking profit in. Okay, that's something that's a must. Okay, and anything in between shouldn't change that. Okay, so for example, like Screech is saying, he got long when the panic was there, right? And this market has traded higher. He's not changing his thesis on every little market move in between. Okay, his game plan's still intact. He sees nothing that changed physically with his game plan and his thesis. So there's nothing for him to do right there. There's no changes he needs to make. There's no reason he should take profit early, stop himself out, or anything of that. So, I mean, the bottom line is, like, you put on the trade, it's almost like you want to be mechanical to the point where here's where I admit I'm wrong. Here's what I'm looking for in upside. Anything around that, I couldn't give two shits about. And it's just a trade. Like, if I'm wrong, it's not the end of the world. If
right, and I want to cut you off, Wall Street Jesus, but I want to say something. You know, I have friends who are really good traders as well as Lucci, right? And you know, one of my friends, you know, he is doing amazing this year, right? And he says something to me. He says, you know, you got to stop thinking in this idea. You have to think it's this idea of asymmetrical bets, right? Everything is asymmetrical. Right. So what you got to do is you got to think of, all right, so I'm going to make a bet. How much am I willing to lose on that bet? And what's my potential asymmetrical upside? If you can freaking find opportunities, you're going to be a millionaire. It's really that simple. It's that simple.
And that's what it comes down to. And the thing is this, you're going to learn a lot by that simple approach. One, if your career is relying on that one trade, your size way too big, and you have no business doing what you're doing at the time anyhow. So you have to change that, okay? If you're running into too many stop losses, then there's an issue there. Either you're buying at the wrong time, or you got to find another outlet for your ideas because something's wrong. So you're going to learn a lot by being mechanical and trying to block out the in-between noise, trying to make sense, like Screech is saying, of every minute of volatility or sell-off or all that is just going to make you dizzy in this game.
Indeed. All right, we got a bunch of questions here coming in. We're going to go ahead and wrap up with these questions here. Let's see. So Xavier here is saying mostly filled with people trying to sell their simple system or their BS indicators. Every now and then they have credible people talk. I appreciate the comments here. Ranchero is saying, yo, Screak, on a day like today, what kind of adjustments did you make, if any, and what made you do it? You know, tell me how. He basically wants you to tell him how you saw it. So obviously we had the big dip towards the end of the day.
Yeah, so we might
buy some protection, anything like that.
No, I'm not gonna buy any protection because I'm up a lot, right?
Okay.
So I'm the kind of trader is if you either you pay me or you don't pay me, You see what I'm saying? I'm in that mindset now where
I'm the same fucking way. Either I come home with that bag or don't give me
I
shit.
don't give a shit. Because if you start playing the stop game, which is a whole other world, you start playing the stop game, they're gonna chop you up, man. These market makers are smart, man, and they know where your stops are. They do. They know exactly where you put stop, and they're gonna wipe those stops. And I've seen it so many times. It took me another 2 years to realize that when you start doing this trailing stop stuff, you gotta be willing to get knocked out. You're pretty much saying, I'm willing to get out of this level. So the way that I'm doing it is I'm giving the market enough space where even if it comes back, I'll probably break even on the trade, which I'll lose money, a lot of money, because I'm up so much, but it's okay because that's my methodology. That's what I'm willing to be okay with because, it's either you pay me or you don't. Because if I get paid 5 times and I got my full targets, I'm good versus getting stopped out 3 times and hitting it 2 times. It's more stress. I've learned you got to slow things down. The way I'm doing it now is it's years and years of saying, slow it down, man. Just make good bets. That's what it's about now. It's all about making. Lucci said it many years ago in the chat room. The best traders only make 3 trades a year. If you can get there, you made it.
It's fucking it. It really is it. And we see them on the flow too. So we see all different types of traders come out on the flow and make their 1 or 2 or 3 or however many bets they come out and make. There are very select trades that these guys make. There are very select timing where these guys make them at. And most of them are obviously when, shit gets crazy volatile and there's so much edge everywhere. And that's usually when you get the sharks that come out, or we're in that sort of floating environment and then everybody's just putting on lead calls or whatever the hell it is. And we'll see those guys. We'll see those guys just putting millions of dollars down.
The Micron guy. We just saw the Micron dude.
Yeah, take a look at fucking Micron. This guy came in at the lows. I think
at the lows
today.
Right
if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
right at the lows and up today in this tape, up almost $1. Yeah,
I've heard a lot of talk about Micron. Actually, I knew this was going to be a big year for Micron. I think last year there was there's something going on with the company. I think.
Yeah.
All right. So we got what do we got? We got one more question here from Joseph. Actually, a couple here from Joseph. Screak, seems like your mentor had a profound impact on your trading / learning curve. What advice would you give to newer traders to help them in search of finding a mentor?
Because I was relentless, I go back to that, right? Because again, when you meet people who have made it in trading, and managing millions of dollars, they don't really have time for retail people to teach retail people. Like I say, the best traders are the guys that's in silent. You never hear about them. You never see them come out the woodworks. They're always in the background in the dark room in somebody's basement or whatever. Those are the best traders, okay? Yeah. It's not the guy at the money show talking about, this and that and this methodology, whatever. Anyway, that's another subject. But what I learned from my mentor was he also failed, but he what he said, he was very big on risk. He was so big on risk. He always talked about, all you got to do really is just make 1 S&P point a day, and you make 5 S&P points a week, and that's 20 S&P points a month. You could make a whole career from that. That's all you really had to do. He went back to the low. I'm like, that's easy. He's like, but trust me, that's all you really got to do, and then do it with size, and you're gonna be good. That was the best piece of advice I ever got from him.
And it's difficult. And again, like all the things that could go wrong in a scenario like that, I'm sure half of you guys have even told yourselves that all I have to do is scrape, maybe $1 a premium a week or some type of shit like that, and I can just do it for a year. The problem is the patience. Are you relentless? Are you going to stick to a particular strategy? The emotions that come into it, the bias and all the things that kind of happen, the market changing and all that kind of shit. You still have to work at. Like, you still got to work at that stuff. But again, if the concept is simple, being able to put it into practice is another story here. And that, I think, we'll end it up with this question. Joseph is asking, how did you maintain the perseverance through a 6 to 7 year learning curve of losing money? And I'm interested in that story myself. I mean, it's difficult to.
Well, the thing is,
to find the motivation to stay in something and to know that you can come out on top still after all that time. But what was it for you?
The thing about my mentor is he said something interesting too when he was building his system, right? When he was in the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or whatever, he said, when he came out of academia and he got into trading and he lost money and everybody else was making money, and he came from an academic point of view, and he thought that he was smarter than all these people on the floor, but how they were making money and he was losing money. Something didn't make sense to him. And he said, after a while, what happened was he realized he had to learn the rules of the game and so forth, blah, 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 right? But to come out and to keep persistent, he said that, you never, when you work really, really hard at something, you don't necessarily know the results of what it's going to be, but all you can really put in is the work. You understand? And you got to have that faith in yourself. You got to believe in yourself, man, to say, yo, I am doing something on the edge here and I can't quit, because you can't. And when you quit, one time you quit, you give up, it's over. Everything's been wasted. You don't want to be like that. So what kept me going was my confidence to say, yo, I'm pretty sure if I stick around long enough, I might actually learn this game the right way. And that's what kept me going and kind of got me where I am today. It's not something that was like sometimes I get really hot. I could pick every top and every bottom, and then sometimes I'm wrong. That's how it is.
Yep. I've seen him get stuck in some nasty ass positions too, but he finds his way. He finds his way out of these things, and it's difficult to do. It's also difficult to get somebody to give you the leverage and give you the and give you the space, to be able to do what you have to do. That's also another issue that him and I have had, and I'm sure a lot of traders, in New York, Chicago, or whatever. After the changes happened in the market where you couldn't just go to a prop firm and get a fucking $1 million in leverage, it set a lot of people back. It set a lot of guys like us back, where we had to work with smaller accounts. We had to work with smaller amounts than we were used to and everything. So there's a lot of things that go into a 6-year period, a 10-year period, a career of trading. But I think Screak just hit it. You just hit it on the head. I mean, you have to have faith. You have to believe in yourself. That you can do this. All right, guys. So let's wrap this up here. Screak, thank you for joining us, man. Hopefully we get you back again, and this time, let's try to get a little bit more in depth on a couple day trade futures kind of situations for these guys. I know they're chomping at the bit for it. What else we got? We got master course here coming up in 2 weeks. So if any of you guys want to learn how to read tape, this is probably the only class I'm going to do up until the summer, because I don't like doing this shit all the time. I got a life, you know what I mean? I need to play my tennis. I need to get the fuck out of here. All right, I can't.
I have one more question. Lucci, when are you gonna come back to New York, brother, man? We need you back here. I need some parties to go to. You're the coolest guy on Wall Street, man. That's one of the cool things that people don't notice about Lucci, but he actually is a really cool guy. If you didn't know he was a trader, you would think you would want to hang out with him like every day, because he is a really, really down to earth and a very cool guy. Like he got friends, probably don't even know what he really does. He just keeps it very.
Yeah, the rumors of Lucci being a herb are bullshit.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone.
There's an archetype of trader, you know what I mean? And I think we're at a place now where we need to break that archetype. I mean, I used to roll to places in New York, downtown New York, and people used to look at me like, yo, you don't look like a fucking trader. I'm like, listen, what the fuck is a trader supposed to look like? All right, what the fuck is it? And if you look at Screak, he doesn't look like a trader. He doesn't look like a downtown Lower Manhattan trader either. If you look at Jesus, they'd be like, yeah, that motherfucker was a broker. They'd be like, yeah, he was a broker. He was a broker. Sometimes.
Oh, God.
I've been thinking about coming back to New York. Actually, Jesus and I just had a conversation about leaving New York because it's so damn expensive and taxes and all that kind of stuff. But I'm thinking of coming back. I have been thinking of coming back because there's no other city in the world where somebody like me can just come up in there and make all kinds of shit happen. Like it's a. You
see what I mean? You see what I mean? One little conversation, right? Screak tells you one thing, and our whole plan goes out the window. Moving to Montana on a ranch.
We were gonna move to North Carolina. We were gonna move to North Carolina and say, "Fuck it, just get some damn mansions." And now Screak
you were running for mayor. You were running for mayor. We had this whole thing going on right out the window. It goes.
All right, guys, listen, the recording will be up. You guys can go ahead and check it out on YouTube. There's tons of other videos on there as well. So hopefully we can get Screak back later. Take care, everybody. Price line is over $2,000 fucking dollars. That is different. So that's going to be the trade for the rest of the week for me anyway. All right. So thanks everybody for joining us. Jesus.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.